I'm sitting up a bit because the body is a bit tired. So let's see if we can make this work. You too are sisters? We have many siblings now. Two. Okay. Manu and Ishana. Quite a few. What's inside us, no? This inside us. Conceptually, it should just be flesh and blood, the food that we've eaten. You can hear at the back. It should just be like that. But for centuries, maybe since the beginning of humanity, we've explored this inside. What is this inside? Why is it so sublime? Why is it so mysterious? Why is it that those who get used to the inside are not so troubled by the outside then? Must be something. If it was just flesh and blood, then we would not be so enamored with it. We would not be exploring it for so many centuries. So what is this inside? There's an inside which is different from inside the body. Is it? And why is it so beautiful, this inside? Because God lives there. God really lives there. So the sages have said, how beautiful must that place be where God delights in being. See? This inside. And that is why the sages have said, Antarmukhi sada sukhi, which means inward facing, always happy, peaceful. Now this inside, if it was just mere phenomena, then that could not be so. You see? Because they didn't say, with your loved ones always happy, with your material possessions always happy, with a beautiful body always happy. They didn't say all of that. They said antarmukhi, inward facing. You see? That is the great mystery of spirituality. What is on this inside? Is it? And is it really an inside in the first place? No sage ever said, Bahar Mukhi, but with this, this and this, Sada Sukhi. No sage said. They said, whatever comes on the outside also, use it to go inside. So if you do your bhajan seemingly outside, but it helps you go inside. If you do your puja seemingly outside, it helps you go inside. So it's all about this inside. Now, it would be very easy if I just said this and you heard it and you know you have to stay inside. Easy. Is it? But why isn't it easy? Because okay, looks like I'm back. But I was on a bad internet, now I'm on the better one. Is it alright? Sound and video now? I can't see anyone. So maybe not that great. Can't see. Let's give it a moment. There we go. Okay, very good, very good, very good. So this Maya will do things like this to get us away from the inside to focus on the outside. You see? And every day I notice with most of you, there is something on the outside to keep you away from the inside. Every day, without fail. Something comes, oh, today this is more important. Today this relationship, today this money, today this body, today this thing. Yeah? So Maya is doing its job every day. And we must not expect it to suddenly stop and then give us the time to be with God. Because it's not going to do that. It's going to pull you more and more in, like the temptress that it is. Mahathagini, no? Kabir ji said. The greatest con artist will produce situations, events, people, everything that is needed to keep you caught up on the outside. And we forget who lives with us on the inside. It seems like just an idea. And many times in the world, we think it is the other way around. The new way of spirituality is go inside so that you can be better on the outside. Go inside so that you have no stress on the outside. Go inside so that you can get better relationship. Go inside so it is upside down. The way to God, the pathway to God is that as and when the outside appears, we use that to remember God and go back inside. So when they say see God in everyone, that is the idea. We put up photos of the great sages and God so that whenever we look on the outside also, we remember to go inside. You see? But then the new type of spirituality is what can I do spiritually so I can become better at making money, better at keeping relationship, better at having a healthy body. Yeah? And those things may happen, nothing wrong with that, as a byproduct. If you had a beautiful child and you were just using that child to become prosperous on the outside, maybe making some very cute reels, posting on Instagram, going viral, making money out of that, would that be the right thing to do? I don't feel it would be the right thing to do. Is it? Same way, you have the most beautiful one in your heart. Why do you want to use him for the outside? Use whatever is there on the outside to serve him, to love him, to deepen in him. Yeah? Now the problem is that because this one sitting on the inside is 99.999% unperceivable, and that 0.0001% met as a primordial vibration, it is very easy to forget about him. Unless from that primordial vibration there is an outpouring of spiritual experiences or love or bliss or peace or healing or light or whatever spiritual things we look for, then it seems like he can wait till tomorrow. This which is perceivable in Maya is more important. And like this, every day, living like this, our life will get over.
Father,
Yes. Yes, my dear.
I know there's nothing more important than being in God's presence, but I still keep going with the mind's belief in personhood.
Yes.
So, and sometimes I feel like I am hiding in the satsang. I'm not coming up. So I wanted to come up and have your blessings to leave what keeps me in personhood, in Maya. I want to just leave everything, and I leave it every day, many times at God's feet, but I keep taking it back again and again.
That's all of us. That's all of us. You see, and that is why we just have to keep going back like this, keep going back like this, going back like this. To realize that so many times we continue to pick separation rather than union with God. We continue to pick myself, the false self, over the true self. To recognize this is very important so that we keep coming back. And every time we keep coming back, it is an act of love for God, it is an act of faith for God. So to recognize this is very good. And to not get discouraged, not to get disheartened at all, just we keep falling down, we keep getting up like innocent children. We're not thinking about what happened in the past. Because the good news is that God is here. And for us, it may be impossible to be free from our past, but for Him, it is not impossible. So to remain with Him and to keep returning to Him because He is worth it. That's the best we can do. We can notice the things that pull us out, like our irritation pulls us out, our anger pulls us out, our greed pulls us out, our wanting to win pulls us out, our wanting to be important in this world pulls us out, our need to not be insulted or humiliated in this world pulls us out. All of these things pull us out, but to just recognize and say that, not again. I will not do this again. I will not get angry again. And then, if it so happens that you get pulled into anger, we make the choice to be righteous instead of loving, then to recognize it and to return to Him, and then again with the conviction, that's it, never again. You see, but not to be disheartened and say, oh, but I decided never again, but this Maya is too strong, it keeps pulling me back, I can't do this, it's too difficult. You see, not to worry so much about that, just this moment he is here, start again. So identify for yourselves what are those things which make us close to God, to His presence, that make us present to the world and not present to Him. And notice that when you go into those times, you carry this conviction of remaining with Him.
Father, just in a millisecond, I lose it.
Yeah. Yes. But is there a common theme that what seems to happen in that millisecond? You see, because not everything tempts everyone. So you must be able to identify that this is when you lose your center, lose being present with Him. This is the main topic, these are the main themes which need to happen in that millisecond for us to do that. You see? So identify those and just become vigilant to those. So if you see that a particular relationship makes you, has the propensity to pull you into that, you see, so then pray to God and say that may it be so that I encounter this one, but I don't fall into the me, the mind, the ego. May I remain in your presence, may I remain in your love and light. May I not forget my reality. And then slowly, slowly we get over that particular topic, that particular theme is not that tempting anymore, but others may start showing up. So we just have to keep at it in this way. At least we are not fooling ourselves in some notional idea of what spirituality is. We are meeting, this is where the rubber hits the road. We are meeting a true spirituality where Maya is seen, and many times it is seen to be very strong. So we are not conceptually wishing it away, we are actually staying with God, with everything that God has blessed us with. So, what do I want for all of you? I want for all of you to become saints in this life. Become saints before this foolish one. I don't know whether it will happen for this one, but my blessing, my hope is that it happens for all of you. And to live a saintly life is to love God really deeply, more than everything else, especially more than the me. To live this life of love in God, you don't need to speak very well or attract big crowds. Just in the simple, simple things of daily life, You're picking God rather than the ego. And what is a saint? A saint is one who picks God rather than ego 99 out of 100 times. And you may pick 80 out of 100 times. So that difference seems very, very difficult, and maybe somewhere it is very difficult, but it is, if we take it this moment at a time, this moment at a time, this moment at a time, it's not that difficult. Pride is tempting you now, let it go this moment. That's one. Greed is tempting you in the next minute, you want to get the better deal over your brother or sister. You want to be the winner in the bargain. Let go of that temptation. Want it equally for both, at least, if not better for them. Two. You see? Like that you can count your whole day. That's the way to do it. You can't decide that from now on nothing will happen. That's why I said 99. You see? Because one thing may still get you. It's alright. Start fresh. Then you truly come into at odds with Maya, and Maya may try everything to pull you out from that, from your love for God. See? But firstly, it is important to see how many of you really want that. I mean, everybody wants the title at the end, whether we admit it or not. So, you see, it's not about the title, but how many of us really want to be at odds with Maya in this way? Yes or no? So just moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment, moment. What do I mean when I say I want sainthood for all of you? I don't want to be known as the father of saints or some fancy title like that. Huh? What is it? So that if somewhere we can create this obsessive love for God in this world, if 5 of us, 10 of us, 20 of us, 50 of us can love God so deeply, I feel like it is such a gift to humanity, to the world. And there is no better gift to give to yourself than to lead a life deeply in love with the truth of who you are and in love with God. There is no better life to lead. But in spirituality itself, there is so much Maya that plays around. Because many times we meditate for ourselves, we pray for ourselves, we pray, and not in the sense of ourselves that way, but just to get something out of it. But it's not always just about love for God. So turn your focus to Him. Make Him the center of your life. Many of us look at God as if God is the sun or the moon. Hopefully, even that. Many of us may look at God as even electricity or gravitation. You see? But if you were to look at God as a living being who actually lives in our heart, He's a living being, an intelligent, alive, living being in the form of Atma living in your heart. but he's living in neglect from most of us. You see? I hope you get that, and that's why I've reduced the usage of words like consciousness and awareness, because when you use that ness stuff, it makes it seem like gravitation or electricity. There's a force inside you. You just have to be with that force. You see? He is not a force. He is a living being. The only intelligence, the only aliveness, the only being. And what you take yourself to be gets its life from him. You see? So if you cut out all the fancy words and you had to do just one thing, just live as if God is always with you. Because that as if actually is not just an as if, it is it. And your number one job is to be present to him, to be available to him, to love him, to serve him, to be guided by him. That is to pray all the time. It's not in the method of prayer, but just in the faith in his existence, which is prayer. Faith in his existence now, which is prayer. Method can be anything. Just taking his name is prayer. Just sitting quiet in your heart is prayer. You see, method is secondary. But are we living as if he is with us here and now? That is the key. This Atma is the presence of God. Your life comes from him. All love, all light, all truth, all joy, everything that is valuable comes from him. Notice especially by yourself, nobody is watching. And then change that perspective to remembrance that he is with you. He's right there with you. So, for most of our brothers and sisters, nobody will tell them so clearly. Although everybody knows God is everywhere, but it's taken to be conceptual and mostly forgotten. You see? But I am telling you very clearly from direct experience that he is with you right now. That is my main job. That is my main job. You see? And your job, if you call me teacher, guru, father, whatever you want to call me, just Ananta, but if you want to follow me, your job is to have faith in what I have told you. You see? Have faith in what I have told you, that he is here. And the deepening in that faith is the deepening of your relationship with the true Sadguru who's alive in your heart. This outer instrument is just a device. You see? But to have a teacher in your life, even as in the form of an outer device, And yet to be stubborn and insistent in your lack of faith is to waste this opportunity. My job is just a road sign which is pointing to your heart. Is it? Just a road sign. But if the sign has come into your life, then to trust your teacher would mean that you follow his advice. And my advice is that live as if he is always with you in your heart. And soon that as if will become not an as if anymore. Because it's already true. Don't do it for the gifts you will get, of which there are many. Don't do it because what the world will think of you. Don't do it to get disciples. Don't do it for anything except love for him. Like she was saying, Zainab was saying that to remain in love with him is not always easy. Sometimes we want to rebel against him. We want to be right for ourselves. We want to fight with him, get angry with him. We want to blame him for everything that is wrong with our life, not taking responsibility for our own lives. Not thanking him for the freedom that he's given us, instead blaming him then. We want to do all of that because we're reliant on what the outside is showing us. But all that doesn't get us anywhere. We have to return many times half embarrassed or fully embarrassed, like Naradji in the story. When he got caught up in Maya and all that flood happened and all of that happened, he would not have returned to Krishna proudly, saying, "Hey, I've come back." He would have said, "Please, will you have me back?" You see? So that is the meaning of humility. So just to be humble and to admit that this fake, prideful me cannot live a true life. It can only be led in surrender to God. That humility is very much needed, and that humility is the most resisted. So learn from this oldish man, and if you're younger, that admit कि हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा at whatever age you're in. By ourselves, by our own ego, by our own pride, we cannot live this life. It has to be run by God, lived in faith of God, in love of God, following the will of God. There's no shame in admitting that. And the more you fight against that, the longer you will take. That is pride. Those who trust in their own capacity to live this life You see? Create a false distance between themselves and God. We rely on Him for everything. We return to the innocence of children. Then we deepen our relationship with Him. Like it would be foolishness if I sat on this chair and I said to myself, I can share satsang. I can share satsang. If it was coming from me, I would say the most atrocious, prideful, silly things. So, to admit that I don't know anything, I don't know what to say next. You see, I don't know a single thing. Only He has to use me as an instrument. You see? Because I'm probably even more foolish than I think I am. But He is all powerful. He is most intelligent. And if I hand over myself, whatever I take myself to be, to Him, then it is up to Him how to use this me. And that is the only place from which satsang can come. So, when must we be in satsang? If we are not in satsang, then where are we? In kusang. If we are not in satsang, we are in kusang. You see, which means that if we are not in good company, then we are in bad company. And this company, I don't mean outside, although it could be. You see? But are we living in the good company of God's light, or are we living in the bad company of our minds, grasping, pride, needs, wanting, specialness? So we have to be in satsang all the time. God's company is satsang, the company of the truth. Live in the presence of God is to live in satsang. The more you live in satsang, the more satsang will spread in your life. The more you live in kusang, the more kusang will spread in your life. It's a simple notion which sages across religions, across traditions have shared with us. So from Tulsidas ji to Hanuman Poddar ji to Teresa of Avila to all the sages have shared this. And the simple question is that if you can be with God, then what is option 2? And why is it so important? And when you feel like you can't be with God, then you're forgetting what this one you call your teacher has told you then. Then he's not really your teacher. He's just a side character in your life. You see? Not that I want to be this one to be so important in your life. I'm just saying that use this road sign at least to point you in the right direction and stay in the right direction. Then burn it if you want. It's okay. It's not that sign is not important. Yeah. So do you really feel that God is with you? Yeah. And if you don't, it's all right, because then you have to trust me on that. That is my whole point. Because you will not always feel like He's with you, but you can trust me always. On this at least. I may be foolish in a million other ways, and I am. But in this one, I promise you I'm not foolish. He is there with you in your heart. His living presence as the Atma is there with you in your heart, whether palpable or not, how palpable or not, whether it seems like fully dark or barren, whether it seems alive with full love and light and peace and joy. Don't forget that He lives with you in your heart. It's faith. It's always an act of faith. Always an act of faith. Because even if you're having the strongest of spiritual experiences, can you really say that you're not hallucinating it? Can't say. Is it? So, what is faith versus belief? Blind belief. अंधविश्वास और विश्वास में क्या अंतर है? We talked about this. So, faith is to go with what your heart is telling you. As absurd as it may seem, your heart is not your emotional heart, it is your spiritual heart. What do you know in your heart? Is God here? You know it. Is it? Blind belief is just, oh, I have the concept that it is like this, so I just follow it because I have the concept it is like this. It is not reinforced with your heart. In fact, your heart may be opposed to it. It's a subtle topic and we can talk about it more. In the sense that, let's look at it this way. So, if you were to say that this Murti of Ganesh Ji is drinking water now, can it be blind belief and can it be faith? It can be both. You see, in what way is it both? If you're just taking something that is happening on the outside to become more attached to the outside, then it is blind belief, andhvishwas. But if you took that, what happened, and said, wow, God, your ways are so mysterious and they're so beautiful, let me always be with you here on the inside, then you use that event on the outside to deepen your faith. So what takes you deeper inside is faith. What makes you attached to things on the outside is blind belief. So then if you start feeling, oh, now he will get me more money if I do this, all I have to do is do this, and he will take care of this and he will take care of that, and you're just interested in the outside, but you're actually completely getting more and more uninterested in God. You just got a wish fulfilling genie now who will answer your every desire. Then that is andhvishwas, that is blind faith, not true faith. Is it? There are many other differences. Blind faith is an act of convenience. True faith requires sacrifice, risk taking. When the world is telling you that you must get attached to this, you must take a position about this, all of that, and you remain like an innocent child, deeply in love with God in your heart, everyone may call you a fool. They say you're wasting your life. What do you have to show for your spiritual life? Your families may be asking you that. You see, you've been in satsang, some of you have been in satsang for a decade and more. What do you have to show for it? Your families may say, our friends and family may say. You see, but it cannot be explained. It cannot be explained. That takes risk. You have to get over the feeling of unworthiness which the world projects on you. Why don't you make something out of your life instead of wasting time? This kind of narrative, whether said or unsaid, you can feel it. Yeah. So my own father, when he was there, he tried to be subtle about it. But, so how is satsang going? It's good. It's good. So, but you're still working and things. You see? That was the main interest. You see? That is the play of Maya. The idea is, what will you get out of it? I don't know, but what we'll get out of this, I know, is death. What we'll get out of just attachment to the world, I know, is death. Everything is a coming and going here. Even this. Are there 10,000 satsangs after this? I don't know. Is this the last satsang? I don't know. Anything can happen. So the only refuge is to be a Sharanarthi at the feet of God, a refugee seeker, an asylum seeker at the feet of God is the only refuge in our life. Because in His presence, even the reality of the union with Him, of the oneness with Him, only in His presence can we recognize. So whether at that point you say, I am that and I always have been that, which is the way of the Jnana Yogi, or you say, I have merged into my beloved, which is the way of the Bhakta, it is actually the same experience. You see? The end goal of spirituality is not different depending on the path that you're on. It is the same.
But then nothing can stop me from always having faith. See,
Maya will stop you, will try to stop you. But the question is, can it? You see, and that is where so it can't by itself. You see? But will it take at times every shred of strength you feel that you have? It will. Will you give in sometimes? I mean, my blessing is that you don't, but even this foolish man gives in many times a day. The idea is not to get disheartened and say, I can't do this. Like one child told me, and those words stick with me, that I'm just not cut out for this. You see? So suppose you made that conclusion, Maya is too strong, I'm not cut out for this. So then, what's your plan? Once you know this truth, that God lives in your heart, unfortunately for you, plan B vanishes. You see? No other plan seems viable. Same idea.
अगर अभी मेरे यहाँ बाई इलेक्शन हो रहा है,
Nice.
then in that by-election, I demanded ticket for MLA from BJP, and I called you to give me blessing to get the ticket. And you said, Anuj, I want to bless you with the highest. The moment I heard this sentence, I immediately stopped to make an effort to get the ticket. But the Maya was so strong when the ticket was announced, because I stopped making efforts for the ticket. So it was announced in someone else's name. When the name was announced, my mind was troubling me so much, so much. Maya was so strong that moment. 2-3 days I hardly could bear it. Then I asked Amrita to just book the ticket to go to Father. I can't live here. She took some time to book the ticket, but since I am here, sometimes it arises again and again, again and again. But the sentence to be blessed with highest is just overpowering everything. It's not letting it uh, go over me and go over myself. So thank you, Father.
Take the ticket that I am giving you.
Yes, Father.
Leave the BJP ticket. But I'll get you a clear trip account also. Because you don't have to wait for Amrita to book the ticket to Bangalore. Why does she always take time to book? Just messing. There's nothing that you could have done that makes you unworthy of God. The past is not important in that way. But does that mean that we are entitled to Him? That is also not true. So that middle, it is humble and yet faithful, not despondent, not despairing. That heart, if you take to God, with full faith in His mercy, in His love, then everything can be healed.
Hello.
Yes. I can't see you at all without my specs, but I'll put them on. Yeah.
From closer. See me?
Yes, yes.
Mm.
Very good.
I wanted to share that the experience here of stepping away from God is a little plays in quite extreme ways, and I don't think that I have fully shared the extent to which it plays, and maybe once. And it seems that every week I go back to hell for a long period of time. And
You go where? Away.
back to
You step
hell.
away from.
Yeah.
Back to hell, I see, I see.
Is my microphone not clear?
It was not so clear, but if you're like this, it's okay.
I just turned it all the way up. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
this
better.
is very good. Yeah, this is good. This is good.
Okay. I just felt this need to be maybe a little bit more clear about what happens, because I don't think that
Yeah.
I've ever been good. Yeah. And it's been going on for a very long time, and it is the play of two very broad extremes. And I get free from that, and then I get back into it, and it feels a little bit like being possessed by something. And
Yeah.
even if I pray in the morning those days, and even if I beg God to help me, it does play, and it continues to play pretty much every week, unless I'm very distracted by something or something like that. And it plays like just despondence or resistance, or just not wanting to do anything, or not wanting to be here. And
So, what triggers the separation from God's presence?
I don't know if there's one trigger. I think the last time it was something. I don't know if there's one trigger. The last time it was probably something that happened with my brother. I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it probably was that, just something that just just what comes here when he does what he does. Yeah. And I keep praying, and I keep whenever lack of forgiveness comes, I try to bless him, and I keep giving that to God, but it seems very strong. Yeah. And I don't know if it's all about that relationship with my brother or my sister. That's what happened the last time, but I'm not sure it's all about that.
Yes. No, it's
And
fine.
it's yeah, I mean, maybe it starts with a little bit of, oh, I don't want this or that, and it comes small, but then it becomes bigger and bigger, and I go into like addiction to like I don't know, doom scrolling or news, or just become very entangled with what's happening in the world, or, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and I only do what is absolutely necessary, and I don't want to do anything else. And yeah, it kind of, yeah, it plays a little bit like depression and loneliness, a feeling of just being alone. And I come out every single week, and then I go back in. Yeah. I wanted to share that I sorry to interrupt.
No.
And I feel that I'm just coming out of one of these little hell spells, and I also wanted to share, and I have been sharing with you, that I also feel closer to heaven. It feels that both are deepening somehow, both of those extremes. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So when you say that you come out of it, you mean that you come back closer to God and His presence, isn't it?
It starts with a little bit of I don't know how it starts, but it feels like the mind or whatever it is that takes hold just kind of like steps back, and then and then it gives me more space to stay with God, because it's not that I don't try to stay with God in those moments. Can't say that I'm not. Mhm. But it's hard, for sure.
Maybe there's a simple way to look at this. Are there some things in your life, if you were to immerse yourself in those, then it seems easier for you to come out of that hellish experience? Or when you're in that hellish experience, then no matter what, nothing can take you out of it.
I did do something yesterday. There was anxiety, and I did some self-healing using the quantum technique that I learned last year, and it did go away. The anxiety, and that brought quiet, and it made it easier to just,
So
it kind of opened up.
yes, whatever takes you away from that separation back into God's love and light is in a way your pathway or your lifeline You see, and I don't feel like any of us, especially me, can do this without the lifelines. Yeah? And God has been kind enough to create so many lifelines, like devotional music, like prayer, of course, is the number one lifeline in my case, at least. That if I just remember Him and say His name a few times, something takes me out of that pull of Maya and starts to pull me back into His light and His presence. So, prayer, devotional music, just remembering reading, spiritual reading, as most of you know, is something I deeply love, because not because I want to fill my intellect with all kinds of rubbish. It is just that as I read the words of the sages and the incarnations, it pulls me into His presence. It becomes a deeply present experience of being with that sage, of being with those words being shared, and the presence of God can be very deeply felt in that process. So you must create a list like that for yourself and say, and you will find that when you're in that state, you don't want to do those things. You see, you don't want to put on a
I
bhajan, you don't want to put on any spiritual music or any satsang. You just want to, like you said, doom scroll and look at news, and just these things seem like more important. See?
in those states, they're like, and they tend to be prolonged. Like they can go for a couple of days. Um, it comes both things that I just pray or that I, like you said, like doom scroll or just I don't want to have anything to do with anything. Yeah.
So when you're in the midst of that seeming hell, are you able to pray quite a lot or constantly even then?
Mm, mostly in the morning, and then in the day, not like sitting and praying. Mostly like it comes, for instance, like one moment like that. Um, and then there's a lot of like what they said, just I don't want
Yeah.
anything.
Uh,
Yeah.
why? Because you don't want to in that time.
Sorry,
Why would you not just use your ADS constantly?
in that time, I feel I'm taken over by something. I feel like I'm possessed by something.
You just
I
don't
don't
feel
know.
like you don't want to. No? So
I
that
just
is,
don't. Yeah, it's something else that is more powerful in those moments, and it's more.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that is exactly what we call Maya. That is exactly what we call Maya, that which doesn't allow you to be with God. It seems so powerful and so true that world affairs, that what's happening on social media, all of that can seem more important than to be with God. So that must be some hallucinating power, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel so. Yeah,
That if you're looking
right.
at what is the topics you scroll on social media, don't be embarrassed.
Lately,
Just come on.
politics.
Politics. Okay, so let's think. Right.
So
So
lately, politics.
maybe
Mm.
sometimes it is politics, not even about our own country, something that is happening in some other country. You see, so then we get so interested in that. And if you were to look at it even objectively right now, and say, would being with God be more important in that moment, or who won the elections in some other country be more important? We know it is
Of
being
course,
with
being
God. So in that moment, it seems like that. I'm just saying that for it to seem like that must be a great hallucinating force, isn't it?
yes,
Exactly. So this great hallucinating force is called Maya. And in other traditions, in Christianity, we may call it the devil, we may call it anything that takes us away from God's presence. So, given that we don't want to be hostage to this Maya when it attacks us next time, and it makes us seem like something thing on social media which we can't really do anything about is more important than our being with God in that moment, then what is it that you can apply for yourself which can cut that circuit of hypnotism, that hallucination? I know that we don't want to in that time, that I'm aware of. But given that right now you're not in that hallucination, how do you want to help the future Georgie when she gets attacked by that hallucinating power?
I have no idea. That's how I felt to be a little bit more clear this time talking to you, because in those times I feel like I need to, maybe I should go back to therapy or go back to like old medicine that I used to use or something like that. It feels very convincing at the time, and then I come out of it and I realize, no, that's not it.
Yes.
So,
And from my perspective, at least, there's nothing wrong with therapy. There's nothing wrong with anything that helps us to break out of that hypnotism of Maya and to allow us to remain more in God's light. I feel like whatever tools are helpful are fine, as long as they're not making it just about you and getting you trapped in a different sort of egoic state. It's all fine. But given all the tools that you have now from satsang for so many years, if you were to design a rescue program for Georgie when she gets caught in that hypnotist's tempting, what would you design for her?
I was I was just thinking about getting up early in the morning and doing this healing that I told you about, and then praying for an hour and just getting up at the same time every day in the morning. That's what I was just thinking.
I've seen that in this life at least, uh, the days in which I don't spend focused at least 2 hours with God, I'm very susceptible to Maya. You see? And that 2 hours maybe can be 1 hour, it can be 45 minutes, it can be shorter. But uh, here at least I find myself foolish enough that without those 2 hours of either spiritual reading or just quiet prayer of the quiet or just doing the ADS or sitting open and empty, whatever the tool may be, unless it is focused. You see, focus means there is no other intention in that moment. You see? That the rest of the day, of course, we want to be in God's presence throughout while work is happening, while other things are happening. You see? I feel those days where, and those days are not so many, not as many as I would like, but if in a particular day 4 hours of that has happened, then that is very, very good. I literally feel like I'm floating in heaven or something like that. You see, God's presence is so alive in those days. But I feel 2 hours is my lifeline. Under 2 hours, I'm sort of like grasping for oxygen, feeling that yucky disconnect, feeling in the heart, feeling that His presence could be so much deeper, and yet, you see, so um, and the thing is that if you're caught in that, then it is too late anyway, mostly. You see, not to, that doesn't mean we give up in those times. But the thing to apply this and make it more of a habit is now, when you're not so caught up in it. When you're feeling very happy and deeply connected with God, in those days spend 4 hours in focused time with God, and the rest of the time stay in His presence in spite of work, family, whatever worldly responsibilities we have. Don't leave God as much as you can. But that focused 4 hours, and I know that 4 hours can seem a lot, but I'm counting everything that you're doing with the intention just to be with God. So whether it is meditating, praying, ADS, remaining empty, spiritual reading, listening to devotional music, whatever we could be doing. And it's not so much actually when we looked at it. So wow, we did a calculation one time. We said that 8 hours of sleep. So I'm not going to say make it 6 unless it is comfortable for some of you to sleep 6 hours. So suppose it is 8. We still have 16. Out of 16, we can do 1/4 with God. So take 2 hours out of social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Just entertaining yourself, all of that stuff. That can come later if there is leftover time. So at least 2 hours is not difficult to me. And then that 2 hours ends up creating additional time. You see? Many times I feel that I'm just telling you about my foolish experiments, okay? Nothing great in any of this. But many times at night I feel like now I'm too tired, no prayer is going to happen, I need to sleep. But many times I find that the prayer itself is very restful. So I get into this state which I can't define as sleep or prayer or whatever. So it's just like praying, but a very restful sort of prayer. So prayer creates being with God creates the opportunity to be more with Him. And the more we do it when we are all right, then we don't have to force ourselves as much when we are not as all right. So when Kabirji said, दुख में सिमरन सब करें सुख में करे ना कोई सुख में सिमरन जो करे तो दुख काहे को होए, which means that everyone tries to turn back towards God when they are suffering, but when we are happy and peaceful we don't do as much. But if we continue to deeply do that remembrance of God when we are happy and nothing is wrong with our life, then there is no reason for so much suffering to come. So use
And that's
that.
the hard part on the part where I want to fight your father, because it seems like it has been going on for a very long time, and it seems that pretty much every single week, and especially lately where it comes more naturally to just give things to God, and I have felt in a way closer to Him. And the last spell of hell was just very deep. It didn't seem like it doesn't seem to be getting better.
Yes, my child. So therefore, okay. So first, let's set the overall context of this. Yeah? So if God wanted to, He could change this like this, isn't it? Like that.
Yes.
He could change it like that. So, and yet He's not changing it. So does that mean we had this conversation? So does that mean He doesn't love you? It's not possible that He doesn't love you. Then it must mean that He just has no time for you. You're just one little Georgie in 8 billion of us. Could it mean that He doesn't have time for you? Can't mean that. Because He is beyond time. There is no way that His will could be stopped because there was no time. That is just absurd, isn't it? So maybe then God is really not as powerful as we are making Him out to be. Could that be the case? Is it? That He wants to help, but His hands are tired, He can't help. Because He made this sort of law of karma, now He's bound by it. That I made the law, now I'm stuck with it, now I have to live. Can it be like that? That is the reason why I don't talk about karma so much, because many times we end up feeling that karma means that God's hands are tied, which can never be the case. You see? So it is just not possible. He loves us deeply. He has all the time in the world. If He wanted to, anything could happen. All powerful one that He is. So given that all of this is true, why are we still going through this back and forth, hellish experiences?
I don't know. But when in the middle of it, I feel that I wish it wasn't like that, and I wish that I had a more normal life. So
Correct. So can we, most things we actually don't know. Like this, we don't know. Why is my life continuing like this? We don't know. But faith is to love Him and trust Him and rely on Him, especially when we don't know. Otherwise, it doesn't need faith. No? If it is rational, we know the reason, this is why it is happening, then it doesn't need faith. It's already intellectually computed. It already makes sense. But faith means I don't know, and yet I have to trust Him. Even this must be out of His love for me. And that is a very deep faith. Very difficult. Spirituality is not an easy path. Don't believe anyone who tells you it's easy. The faith like this is the faith of Shabri, is the faith of Hanuman. Imagine Shabri, 60 years she waited, no? I'm presuming, I don't know if it was hundreds or it was lesser, but she waited. Every day would she have not felt, I have been doing this, picking berries for you every day, can't you come? Why are you doing this to me? All you have to do is just show up. You can show up. Isn't it? He could have shown up whenever he wanted. See? But why do we look up to that faith? Because it was not rational. It is not rational for any of us to wait for Ram to come 60 years, pick berries, taste them, keep the sweetest ones for him every day. Is it? And there are so many things, like most of the things we can never put in our heads. God is too big to put in our heads. Is it? And that's just a simple way of saying that no matter how much I love Aslan, he will never understand why we inject him with vaccination. He will never understand, isn't it? Is it? So, in the same way, we are nothing compared to God. We cannot really. Our struggle in the human condition is that our minds are too tiny, but God, for some reason, which is known only to Him, gave this mind the ability to ask the big questions, but not the ability to hold the big answers. Because our answers are very brittle, they're very conceptual, and they're easily shaken, especially in times of adversity. But there's a deeper force compared to rationalization, and that is the force of faith. And that is the difficult part. And don't feel that because I'm saying these big words, I'm very good at it. Maybe I'm weaker than all of you. But at least it is clear to me in this moment that that is the project. Not a self-serving spirituality, but a self-sacrificing, a self-surrendering spirituality. So can we trust that He is here even in those times? Can we trust that He knows everything even in those times? And can we trust that He loves us even in those times? You see, that's the overall construct first. Then we can look at the devices to bring us back. Is it prayer? Is it inquiry? Is it just devotional singing? Is it watching some recording of satsang, favorite satsang playlist? So I talked to all of you about making these playlists, and the playlists keep changing because your heart keeps deepening and the flavor of what it wants to immerse itself in keep changing. So this investment in creating these lifelines is very, very worthwhile. You see? So is there something in the midst of this hellish seeming time which you just see and you hear and you pulled out at least a little bit with that?
Well, yesterday was that what I told you I did, and it was the healing that I did because it's a direct connection with God through energy, and
Very good, very good. That's very good. But I don't know what the process is, but I'm presuming you can't just constantly do that. But is there like a favorite book, a favorite set of passages, a favorite piece of devotional music, something which just pulls you back into God? Because I know that many times I would say just constantly try and do the ADS as much as possible. But I realize that many times it just becomes a block against taking God's name. Something just blocks us very strongly. But while try to trick the mind, it's got you on YouTube. You're watching some video of what is happening in elections, and just suddenly put on a bhajan or something. Just go too fast. Go too like the mind. No. Yeah? Like,
I do that. I do that, and I seem maybe less interested in those things. And I remember the name of God. I pray in the morning. I do the full ADS in the morning, focus prayer in the morning.
So pray in the morning till you come to His presence, or no?
Yeah, sometimes it's very hellish and it's been an hour and it continues to, but something does, it always does something. Sometimes it's very full and sometimes it's more partial.
So even if it's very disturbed, it's very distracted, we are doing our prayer half the time, we are forgetting, we are thinking of worldly things that we have to do, all of that distraction can come. But as long as we keep returning to God, it is a very useful use of our time. You see, to go through that struggle is very, very strong sadhana actually. So we must not feel that the stronger sadhana is when there is no struggle. Maybe you're having better prasad in that sadhana, it's sweeter prasad. But the stronger sadhana is when you have to go through the tapas. It seems like, I don't want to sit, I don't want to take God's name. You're going on, Ram, Ram. That is the tapas, no? That is the heat that we have to encounter to just, you see, all our faith is crumbled, maybe there's full doubt. Does he really know God is there? Is there such a thing? Am I wasting my life? Everybody in my family is telling me I'm a waste. You see, it can seem so strong, and yet just Ram, just keep at it. Oh Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, sinner. You don't want to, mind is fighting with everything, but just Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy. Just going on. You see? And you see that, like you said, it does something which is unexplainable. It does something, even if it is a struggle.
Yeah, that is very valuable guidance when I started hearing you or posting things from saints that to value our to value our practice in those times, because in those times somehow it seems that that is not, that either it's not working or it's not worth the same as other times, but you made it clear that that's not true, and that I feel that's very valuable.
Exactly. So then in that hellish time when you're praying and you're trying to come back to oxygen. And if that is the stronger sadhana that you're doing, then that's fine too. I'm not saying that you will look forward to that time coming again. Nobody looks forward to those times, but you're not disheartened necessarily about them, because, like you said, God always finds a way to pull you back, to bring you back. So to have faith that He knows everything that you're going through, and you're still fighting to return back to Him through your prayer, through your sadhana, through your inquiry, please have faith that He knows all this. He knows all this.
Sometimes it feels that to have faith is to not ask Him to heal me. But also, yesterday, at one point after the healing, it came to begging, and then it stopped. The madness inside kind of just stopped after that.
Yes. It's all right. Whatever you take to Him is fine. Whatever you take to Him is fine. Now, look at it this way. He knows already. He knows you want to be out of this. You see?
Yeah.
He already knows you want to be out of this. So what is the point of not taking it to Him? Is it that we don't take it to Him in prayer so He won't know that I'm actually asking to be out of this? So the innocence of a child is that just whatever it is, take it to God. What I said in the beginning was that if our interest in Him is only because of materialistic outcomes, that is not true spirituality. But if our interest in Him is primarily our love for Him, and there are things which try to block, this Maya tries to block our love for Him, then of course we must take it to Him. So sometimes I pray like that in the morning, saying, God, please bless me that I spend the whole day in your presence at your feet. I know that your Maya is strong and she does pull me away, but please know that my intention is truly nothing I want in Maya. I just want you and to be in your presence, but it still ends up tempting me at times. So please bless this day today that the temptress I don't fall for the temptation. Just simple, innocent, heartfelt. And the beauty is that, I don't know if I've ever shared like this in the broadcast, but do we feel like, okay, should I really get into this right now?
Yes.
We have so much help. We have so much help. So if we say, like I was saying earlier today, that Anand Mahima used to say And I realized that that's not the right thing to say, because it's not used to say, it is she says. You see? Because those who find place at his feet find this eternal life. Now you may say that, but that eternal life is in full union with him. See? So there is no Anand Mahima left. It is full union with him. But you're presuming that time is linear for God. You see? So this is that Achinta Veda, that which merges into God is not unaware of the lives they have led or the life they have led. So when we pray to the sages, when we pray to the holy teachers, it is not, we can't apply our worldly ideas of time and space upon them. So all these holy teachers, all the ones are blessing us constantly. So if we pray to Saint Teresa of Avila, Holy Mother that she is, I have full faith that although she is merged in divine union with God, God, which played the part of Saint Teresa of Avila, still takes hold of our prayers to her. So we can't imagine the amount of help that we have. We are supported in so many ways. In fact, in whichever way we ask for help, that help is available to us. It's only that our pride stops us from truly asking for help. Now, much of what I'm saying, and that's why there was some trepidation in sharing it also, may not really compute or make sense. That's all right. You can reject it if you want, but just remember this, that your life is not that tiny thing that you take it to be, and the amount of help which is available to you is far beyond what you can imagine. So just as much as possible, make a checklist for yourself. If you find yourself in those situations where you feel separate from God, say, I will watch this satsang, I will listen to this bhajan, I will read this book, I will read this passage, I will search for a video by this one. And initially, you may not want to, but somewhere you have to do that whole, when they say with exercise, you have to get on the mat. Just get on the mat, the rest will take care of itself. In the same way with your spiritual life. Especially when you don't want to, turn towards God. In whatever way. There are so many millions of ways. Is it? So then you will see that the time will gradually seem to reduce that you are spending in separation from God. And it is so beautiful. What were we reading the other day? That there are so many ways to love God. You can be in Dasya Bhav, so you can be in servitude to God. You can be in Vatsalya Bhav, which means you can feel like Yashodama to Krishna, like a parent of God. You can be in Madhura, what is it? Madhuram Bhava, where you feel like God is your beloved. This is so much. And then you can be in Atma Nivedanam, which means you're offering up your Atma itself, your consciousness, your being itself. You say, this is my heart, please accept me, Lord. Then they said the highest form of loving God is the feeling the pangs of separation when you are disconnected from Him, the Param Vyakulta, which means that when you feel that disconnection in your heart, you feel like you're running out of oxygen and you have to return to His presence, to His love. You see? So it can feel like, but how is this the highest? This should be the lowest, probably. You see? This is what many of us may struggle with. But this is the highest because we can't take the pangs of separation from our beloved. You see? Then Maya loses all its power. You see? But that will come as we deepen more and more. Love for God deepens the more we love Him. Love for God deepens the more we remember Him. So use your lifelines, use the tools, all the blessings of all the sages are with you. Just turn in whichever way. Sometimes, and all this is from my foolish experiences in life. So sometimes you feel so caught up in things, you just pick up that tiny moti of Hanumanji and clutch it. Clutching it, holding it. God help. Whatever. Whatever. Arrow prayers are very good. There's so many lifelines for us. We just have to use them. It doesn't mean that, oh, you use them and then we start tracking how well they're working and all of that. We just use it as much as we can. We love God deeply and we trust that He knows I'm going through all of this and He knows my love for Him. And I'm going to trust what is unfolding. I don't know why I'm being injected in this life. I'm getting this injection. But just like Aslan may learn to trust us one day, I have to learn to trust him. Yeah. It's yours. And I feel the biggest thing that gets in the way is the expectation that it's not going to be hard. Hard. Just don't have that expectation. It is going to be hard on many times. It's not going to be a walk in the park always. Have you heard of any sage who just like was born, then he just life was a bed of roses, walk in the park, and suddenly then they became enlightened? Maybe some like Bhagwan, you don't really hear about their trouble so much. Then you say, okay, his past karma, all of that explanation. But mostly you hear about the strife that most sages have to go through. So if I am saying that my blessing, whatever little devotion I have to God, with all of that, if I have to bless you, it is for you to become fully, deeply, madly in love with God to the point of at least inner sainthood, even if the world doesn't recognize it, especially if the world doesn't recognize it, then expect that there will be strife. I cannot wish any less for any of you. And I'm not talking about the perks of sainthood, I'm not talking about disciples and ashrams and all that. It can come if it has to. But I'm talking about that deep surrender and love for God. A saint in God's eyes, not in the world's eyes. The world can make saints out of foolish people like me also, but truly, in the audience of one, that is important. Of course. They are alive right now. What does your heart say? If you pray to whatever sage you revere, say Anandamayi Ma, what does your heart say? She hears you or no? So that is faith, what your heart says. To rationality, that is stupidity, absurd.
Right now it's telling I love you, Ananta-ji.
Oh, I love you too, my child. Bless you, bless you. Love you too. Very good. Okay, we'll take the rest of the question next time if you can. As it is, this body was a bit tired. I hope you'll be fine with that. Sing the Hanuman Chalisa. Did we forget to sing the Aarti today? I forgot.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारि रामा निज मन मुकुर सुधारि बरनउँ रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक फल चारि तुलसी जो दायक फल चारि बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार राम सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार तुलसी हरहु कलेश विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर राम दूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन बरन बिराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंचित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा बिराज कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साज शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुमिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संहारे लाय संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई सहस बदन तुम्हरो जस गावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा नारद सारद सहित अहिसा जम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कभी कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना जुग सहस्त्र जो जन पर भानु लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु प्रभु मुद्रिका मिली मुख माहि जलधि लांग जय अजरज नाहि दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरणा तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोक हाँकते कापे भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे चारों जुग पर ताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे, अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हारे भजन राम जी को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुबरपुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्त न धरहि, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करहि। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाहि। जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई, रहि बंदी महासुख होय। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजय नाथ हृदय महाडेरा। पवन संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप राम। मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप। तुलसी हृदय बसहु सुरभूप।